Hello, welcome back. I'm Andreas, your tech-curious web designer. In this video, we will add subscriptions to our Django application using the Stripe API. If you want to code along, have the Django starter code set up, as seen in part 1 of this series, and also the Stripe API integration from part 2. Then you're good to go. But before we get started, a quick shout out to my new supporter on Patreon. A high five to Russell. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you like this content, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon. This helps me to grow this channel and to reach more people. Thank you so much. Okay, and now without further ado, let's dive in. A quick demo of what we're going to build in this video. So here we have a subscription plan page where we have 3 tiers of subscriptions. So let's say I choose the basic plan, I click subscribe. I got redirected to the Stripe checkout page where I fill in my credit card details and pay. Then I got redirected to my subscription page where I can see the plan I've selected. I can see the next billing date. I can see my monthly fee. And then I can cancel the subscription or switch to a different plan. Let's cancel it. The subscription was cancelled and I also see the end date. Let's switch the plan. I'm selecting now the Pro plan. And the Pro plan is now active. And Stripe has calculated automatically how much I have to pay at the next billing for switching the plan. Okay, let's jump into the code now. Let's start by creating a new Django app. So in the terminal, I write Python manage.py start app and I call this new app a_subscription. Then I add this app to my installed apps. So in the core folder, settings.py, and add it to the list. Okay, save this file. Then let's add a view. So I'm going to the subscription folder, here to views.py. Here we have the subscription view, which renders out the subscription page. Okay, save this file. Now let's create a subscription page. So I copy the file name and the folder. Then I'm going to my subscription folder, create here the template folder. And in this folder, I create a new file and paste the path in here. And the code for the subscription page is exclusive to my Patreons, available on my Patreon page. But you can grab the basic code block from my GitHub repository at github.com/ndjut/stripe. Okay, next let's add the URLs. So I create a urls.py file. And add here my path. And then I include this file in the main URLs file in the core folder. Okay, and now we create a link on the home page. So I'm going to the main templates folder. And here the home.html. And add here a subscription link. Okay, save this file. And now I'm starting up the server. I refresh the page. We have our subscription link here now. And the subscription page with 3 plans, a basic version, a pro and a premium. So these correspond to 3 products on Stripe. Let's create them now. So here we are in the product catalog on Stripe. And we can see the 4 products I created for the e-commerce tutorial. Now let's create our 3 products for the subscription tiers. So click here create product. First one is the basic plan. Add a description. Then upload an image. Here I select recurring. Then the amount. I change this to dollars. And the billing period is monthly. Okay, then add the product. And now I do the same for the Pro and Premium subscription tier. Alright, now let's add them to our app. And I'm going to my view. And here I'm creating a subscription dictionary with the 3 tiers and add the price IDs from Stripe as values. So for the basic plan, I have here the price object and I copy the price ID. Then the same for the Pro plan and the Premium plan. Okay, and now I add this subscription object with the price IDs to the template. Okay, save this file. I'm going to the template now. Here we have the subscribe button. And I'm adding here now a hidden input field with the name price ID and the price ID for the basic plan. The same for the Pro plan and the Premium plan. Okay, save this file. Now let's go back to the view and implement the logic when the user clicks the subscribe button. So if request.method is post, first I check if the user is logged in, and if not, I redirect the user to the account login page with the next parameter, which redirects the user back to the current page. Let's import redirect and reverse. So then we get the price ID from the front end with request.post.get, then the value of the price ID. And then I create the checkout session. For this we need to connect to the Stripe API. So I import Stripe and import the Stripe secret key from the settings. Then we add here the line items with the price ID and the quantity of 1. Payment method types is card. The mode is subscription. Then I add the success URL. To this URL the user will be redirected to after successful checkout. And I'm building this URL using the build absolute URI function. The create subscription function I will add in a second. This will add a subscription object to our Django database. And I'm passing through the session ID. Then also the cancel URL, which links back to the subscription page. Then I also add here the customer email. And we also can attach metadata to this checkout. For example, the ID of the user we have in our Django application. This is very useful, for example, when creating a webhook. And then I redirect the user to the Stripe checkout page. As next I create the create subscription function. Here I get the checkout session ID. And then I create a subscription object in our database. We will do that in a second. And then I redirect the user to a My Subscription page, where I display the data for the plan from the database. Let's create this page. First I create a view. Then I create a MySub HTML file. So in the templates folder, mysub.html, and the code for this you can get from my GitHub repository. So here subscription and mysub.html. I copy the code and paste it in here. Okay, save this file. Now let's create the URLs. So first the URL for the create subscription function, and then the URL to the My Sub view. Okay, save this file. Next I add the link to the My Subscription page to the header navigation. So I'm going to my includes folder, here to header.html. And in the drop-down menu, I add here the My Subscription link. Okay, save this file. And now let's have a test. I start up the server and check it out. I refresh the page. So if I click on subscribe here, I'm going to the Stripe checkout page. That's great. However, we have not implemented the whole process yet, so I will go back. And let's check out the My Subscription page, where the user will be redirected to after the checkout. And on this page, I can see the subscription plan I've selected, with the data coming from our database. Okay, let's implement this functionality now. And first I create the model class for the database table. So I'm going to the models.py file. And I'm adding here my subscription model. So first we have here the user property with a foreign key relationship to the user class. Let's import the user. Then we have the custom ID from Stripe, the subscription ID from Stripe. We have the product name, the price, the interval. This is the time period we are using. By default this month, but it can be also a year or a week. Then we have the start date, the end date, and cancelled add. Then I'm also adding here a dynamic property, the isActive property, which is calculating if a subscription is still active. It basically checks if there's an end date and if the end date is still in the future. This is the case when a user cancels the subscription but can still access the content until the end date. I'm using here the now function from the Django time zone module, which takes into account what time zone is set in the application to make sure the times are saved consistently and correctly. Let's import it now. So from django.utils.timezone import now. And another property I'm adding here is the tier property. So here I'm mapping the product name I get from Stripe with a tier number. So the basic plan is tier 1, pro plan is tier 2, and premium plan is tier 3. By getting the product name, I return here the tier number. This is useful to show different contents for different tiers. And then I also add the string representation, which is displaying the username, the product name, and if the subscription is active or not. Okay, save this file. Now let's register this model in the admin.py file. And now make the migrations. Python manage.py make migrations. Python manage.py migrate. And run the server again. And now we can finalize the create subscription function. So back to the views. So if you have a checkout session ID, I will create now a subscription object in the database. On a live site, this could also be triggered through a webhook. Let's import this model class. So from .models import everything. Then first we have the user. So we can get this user from the request object. But for example, if this function is triggered from a webhook event where we don't have the request object, we can get it from the metadata. For this I retrieve the session object from Stripe. Then I grab the user ID from the metadata. And then I can use this user object. Next we have the custom ID, which is coming from session.customer. Then we have the subscription ID. Then we have the product name, which we have to retrieve through the price object. For this I first retrieve the subscription object. Then I get the price object, I only have one price object set on the subscription, so I grab the first one. Then from the price I get the product ID. And with the ID we retrieve the product. And then we can say product name is product.name. Then we have also the price. Then the interval. This is the billing period. And add the start date. And to have it exactly the same as on Stripe, I want to grab it directly from there, from the current period start field. Let's import the datetime package. Okay, and with this information we can create our subscription object in the database. Next, let's display this information on the My Subscription page. I first check if the user is logged in. If not, I redirect it to the account login page. And then I can get the subscription object for the logged in user and pass this object to the template. I go to the template. If we have a subscription object, I display the subscription plan. Else I display you're not subscribed to any plan and the link to choose a plan. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. So refresh the page. And as we can see, we did not subscribe to any plan yet. Let's choose a plan now. So I choose the Pro plan. Buy the subscription. And we got redirected to the My Subscription page. Awesome! At the moment this is still the static template. Let's populate it now with the data from the database. But first let's check if we have indeed an active subscription on Stripe. I go here to transactions. We can see here that the subscription was created. Then I click here on the subscription ID. And here we have our subscription object. And it also added a shortcut now to all the subscriptions. Let's quickly also double check if the object in the database was created. So here we go to subscriptions. Here we have the object with the data filled out. Nice. Now let's display this data on the page. So here we have the name of the plan. Here we add subscription.product name. Then we have the next billing date. For this I create a method now to calculate the next billing date, depending on the start date and the interval. So I'm going to models.py. And I'm adding here this method. So first I'm checking if the subscription is active. Then if the interval is the month, I calculate the next billing date by the starting date plus 1 month, and I'm using here the relative delta function. This is coming from Python's relative delta module, which is very useful to calculate the relative difference between two dates, taking into account the days of the month and the year. For this we have to install the dateutil package. So I shut down the server first. Then I install this package with pip install python-dateutil. Then run the server again. And in my file here, I import this package. So from dateutil.relativedelta import relative delta. The same goes for the year. So if the subscription is for a year, I add to the starting date 1 year. And I add also else. For everything else, I have a relative delta of 7 days. And if we have no active subscription, the next billing date is none. Alright, save this file. And now I can add here the value for the next billing date. Alright, let's save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page. And as we can see here, this changed now to Pro plan, the plan I selected, and also the next charge date is correct. However, I would like to simplify how I display the date. So with this date filter, I display the full month, the day without zeros, comma, and then the year. Like this. Nice. Then here we have the price and the interval. Then here I want to display different contents depending on the tier. So if the subscription tier is 1, I display this line. And for the other tiers, we have other content. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. And as we can see here, we have here now the features for the Pro plan and the correct amount to pay per month. As next, let's add the cancel subscription button. I first create the view. The view takes in the subscription ID. Then with the object or 404 function, I check first if the logged in user has a subscription with this ID, and if not, I display a 404 page. Let's import this function. And then I can modify the subscription. So I need here the subscription ID and set the cancel at period end to true. Then we update our subscription object in the database. So cancel at I will set to now. Then we'll add the subscription end date. And here I get the end date again straight from Stripe, from the current period end field. For this we need the Stripe subscription object. I can retrieve this object through the subscription ID. And then we save the subscription. And then I redirect the user to the My Subscription page. Okay, save this file. Let's add the path. Then we go to the template. Here we have the cancel subscription link. And here in the action, I add now the path, which passes through the subscription ID. Then I want to display this cancel button only if you have an active subscription and no end date. And close it with end if. And instead of the next charge date, I would like to display the end date. So I add again a condition. Else, if the subscription was cancelled, I display the end date. And close it with end if. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page. I click on the cancel subscription button. And as we can see here, this changed to cancelled with the end date. Nice. Let's also check the subscription on Stripe. So I refresh the page. And as we can see here, we have an end date of the subscription. Now, as last, let's add the switch plan feature. Let's first add here a link to go back to the plans. So here we have the button. And I'm adding here the subscription URL. Okay, save this file. Then we go to the views. Here I'm going to the subscription view. Then I'm checking here now if we have a subscription for this user. So if you have a subscription, I don't create a new subscription, but I just modify it by changing the product assigned to it. I will add this code in a second. Else we create the checkout session. Okay, with this code I modify an existing subscription. For this I need the subscription ID, then the items I want to modify and update it with a new price ID. And I also set the cancel at period end to false. Let's retrieve the item we want to modify. First I get the Stripe subscription object. Then I grab the item I have there, which is just the first item in the list. And then I can get here the item ID. Now this item on Stripe gets updated with a new price ID. Next we also update the object in our database. I get the price object and the product object. Then I set the start date to now, add the updated product name, the new price. I set the end date to none, also the cancelled add property to none. Then save the subscription object and redirect the user back to the My Subscription page. Okay, save this file and let's do a test. Okay, I refresh the page. I click the button. Now I want to upgrade to the premium plan. And as we can see, my subscription was upgraded to the premium plan. Let's quickly check on Stripe. The plan changed indeed to the premium plan. It gives me the amount I have to pay at the next invoice. This is calculated by Stripe automatically. Let's quickly check also our database object. We still have only one subscription for this user, that's correct. And here we have the data for the premium plan. Nice. Alright, this is all for this video. This was a very basic implementation of a subscription model with different tiers using Stripe. Thank you so much for watching and following along this series. If you like this content, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to not miss the next one. I hope to see you there. Until then, stay curious my friends, and bye bye for now.